So this video is if you are going to put a sponge top onto your tart sioned. So you will need to do the sponge mixture first of all. So in here I've got some self-raising flour, I've got some caster sugar, I've got some margarine, and I'm going to pop an egg in here, and then we're going to beat all of that together until it becomes a smooth batter. Now again, depending on your design, you may have decided you're going to add some ingredients to your batter. So in here you may decide after you've mixed it up, so get it all mixed up first, and then you may decide that you want to add some chocolate chips to it, you want to add some cocoa powder, again you want to add some flavouring, like as I said before, some lemon zest or some orange zest. You may want to add some food colouring, you may want to add some biscuits. You could add something like some honeycomb pieces if you wanted to, which you can actually get in the cake section of the supermarket. There's lots and lots of things. Nutella wouldn't be a good idea. A pupil has tried that before and it didn't work out too successfully. So as I said, if you did want chocolate in here, I would use cocoa powder, or I would use some maybe grated chocolate, but I certainly wouldn't try putting Nutella or jam in here because those have been tried in the past and they don't actually work out very well. So that's when you've got your sponge mixture. As I said, that's all mixed through then, so you can actually start to assemble your tarts. So you're going to get one of the trays, which will have been greased. Just check that it has been greased though. And then you're going to pop your pastry circles into there. Now you will actually hopefully be doing 12 of these. I'm just going to show you 6 for demonstration purposes. So put your pastry in, and as I said, hopefully they will fill properly if you've actually used the right cutters. So this is, as I said, the pastry that will have come out of the freezer from last lesson. Now again, for demonstration purposes, I'm going to show you 3 different kinds of filling going in here, just to give you an idea of what to do. In the lesson, we're probably, unless you're working very, very quickly, going to have to stick to just one for each of these because, as I said, they will take a while to cook, and we do need to make sure that we get everything done in the lesson. So if you've decided you want to use something like Nutella, custard, that can just go straight in. If you do want to use chocolate, you can just actually put whole blocks of chocolate in because they will actually melt then when you pop that into the oven. So I'll do 2 chocolate ones. I'm going to do some jam ones. Now if you've got a jar of jam, what I always find easier is just to actually to mix it around in the jar first of all, and that's a lot easier then, and you don't just get one big chunk of jam. It actually does then spread out a lot better. So that would be exactly the same as if you were making some jam tarts, for example. Okay, so I've got, as I said, some jam going into those ones, and there's no reason why you couldn't, if you wanted to, put something in with the jam as well. So you could put some pieces of strawberry in, for example, or you may want to, as I said, put something like some chocolate chips in there. So you've got lots of different options which you would have considered last lesson. And then for the last ones, I'm just actually using a tin here of apple slices. And again, you could use some fresh fruit. Okay, make sure the pieces that are going in are not too large. You could use some fresh fruit as well, or you could use some frozen fruit, or as I'm using here, just some tinned fruit. And then once you've got your fillings in those, you're just going to actually pop a teaspoon of the cake mixture on top of that. So if you get a teaspoon of your cake mixture and then using the back of another spoon, just actually push that off so it covers the filling. Now what it is important that you do here is that you don't overfill your cases, because otherwise the filling will start leaking out when you pop them into the oven. Okay, so as I said, just put your teaspoon, and again, it doesn't matter if it's not totally covering the filling because it will actually spread out when you pop that into the oven. So as long as it's actually covering most of the tart. They're going to go into the oven then probably for about 20 minutes. Okay, so it is important, as I said, that you make sure that you give yourself sufficient time to cook these. So your tarts will be cooked when the sponge is actually nice and firm on top of them and they've gone a golden brown colour. Now what you'll need to do, just leave them cool down for a couple of minutes and then you need to lift them off into your container. The easiest way I found to do this is just use a teaspoon, slide it under the tarts, and then you can lift them off. That's why it's also important to try and make sure that everything stays inside the case, because once it starts spilling over, that's when it gets a bit messier and they're a bit more difficult to get out. So if you make sure, as I said, that you keep everything within the tart case, hopefully they'll just lift out nice and simply. So that's the process that you need to do if you want to do some of the sponge topped tart sioned.